The film I chose to talk about is Notes on Blindness, which is directed by Peter Middleton and James Spinney. It uses audio files from the original diaries of John M. Hull, recorded in 1983, when he became blind after years of deteriorating vision. For Hull, the diaries were sort of a means of coming to terms with his new way of being, his new blindness, and adapting to the losses he was going to face over the next couple of years. So I identified the film as being created in the poetic mode. Bill Nichols describes poetic mode documentaries as being an alternative to fiction or expository filmmaking. The film is alternative to fiction because it draws on the real experiences of Hull, using original audio files recorded by him throughout his experiences. It's also alternative to expository in that it doesn't just seek to inform, to persuade or to move the audience in particular. Rather, it just kind of seeks to give them a new way of seeing the world or a new experience, a new perspective of the world. Barry Natush and Beryl Hawkins elaborate on Nichols' description of the poetic mode, adding that it exhibits modernist characteristics typified by the qualities of fragmentation, emotionalism, expressiveness, and ambiguity. Notes on Blindness does deal heavily with the ambiguity of Hull's experiences. With blindness, it's depicted with deeply expressive and emotional tones, and this mimics his thoughts as he speaks and draws the viewer through his experience kind of alongside him. Bill Nichols describes the poetic mode documentaries as being limited by their formal abstractions, which may lose touch with historical reality. But I think that because the film is based on the original, mostly unaltered audio diaries of John Hull, it's kind of unlikely that they would lose much touch with the historical reality of his experiences because they were recorded at the time. However, I think it's fitting for abstraction, some amount of abstraction of the visuals, because they represent the abstractions of blindness that blindness causes to one's vision of the world and experience of the world. Nichols notes that the performative documentaries treat knowledge as a new way of seeing and comprehending the world, seeing the familiar in a fresh way. In Notes on Blindness, the viewer experiences the feelings, the emotions, and the struggles of blindness through the eyes of Hull, gaining insight into what it might be like to become blind, seeing the familiar world that we see every day in a fresh, new way, new perspective. One wouldn't know what it means to lose eyesight, really, before having experienced it, and I think that the film aims to give you a little of that experience. Bill Nichols also notes that sound in poetic documentaries is expressive, used mainly for pattern and for rhythm. The filmmakers use the real sounds of rain falling on objects, and it fills the audible environment at times, but we mostly still have the expressive music in the background, which gives the documentary drama and emotion to the experience. At times there is silence alongside the voiceover. During particularly dark shots, the silence kind of feels, to me, like it mimics the blindness. It gives the viewer a kind of more in-depth experience of the feelings of solitude and the feelings of hopelessness that Hull was feeling at the time, that he's describing in the audio. Time and space in the film is discontinuous. It uses images to build mood or pattern mostly. Notes on Blindness doesn't draw on one chronological excerpt from Hull's diaries. It draws on multiple smaller excerpts from different times throughout his experiences. And I think that sometimes that makes the narrative feel a bit discontinuous. But there are narrative cues and continuity. At the end there is a resolution. Hull finds a kind of relief when he discovers how rain can lend shape to the world, and he no longer feels isolated. He learns to see the world in a new way, and after the climax that we go through of Hull's panic at being caught in this blizzard, this calm resolution shows the narrative structure of the documentary. We have a big climax and then a resolution at the end. Photographs and clips of his children and his wife at different stages throughout his experience, coupled with his spoken reflections, aims to build mood and pattern more than it does to tell a seamless and accurate narrative of his progress. One of the ethical concerns of the poetic documentary mode is the use of actual people, places, and things, and the tendency to disregard their individual identity. The film takes on a drama documentary style, I think, which limits it because of the retrospective nature of dramatically reconstructing Hull's experiences years after the fact. So they've got to be remade using actors. So Rosenthal and Corner note that in telling a real and relevant story involving real people, the basic problem is how to get it right after the event. I think that means that there's a natural kind of tendency for some degree of misrepresentation of the subjects, including distortion and exaggeration and things like that, because it's recorded after the fact. The performative mode, according to Nichols, has a voice that is characterized by an expressive desire to give new forms and fresh perspectives to the world represented. So Hull's experiential journal, personal audio diaries clearly have the express purpose of doing just that. The documentary seeks an understanding of what Hull must have been feeling at the time, and it gives the viewer insight into his way of being and seeks to display truth from a fresh perspective. The content of the documentary is guided by the mode. The mode seeks to provide an experiential insight for the audience into the truth of what life is like from this new perspective, and Notes of Blindness aligns with the intentions of the mode in providing a comprehensive perspective, I think. Peter Ward talks about the poetic documentary mode as placing emphasis on the ambiguities of experience. The contents of the film, I think, aligns to that concept. It draws in moments from Hull's diaries of panic, of fear, of doubt, of confusion into the viewer's experience, the same as Hull's experience. So rather than only providing us with that resolution and the beauty of blindness that Hull notes, we're given a fresh perspective on the suffering he felt as well. It's a comprehensive view, and it's a fresh perspective on the way blindness is understood. Spinney and Middleton spent the past 6 years working on various shorts of Hull's diaries, so this was not their first interpretation of it. Other titles include Rainfall, Snow, and a short by the same title, Notes on Blindness, and they all had the same sort of style as the final feature. They all aimed at providing an honest recount of Hull and his family's experiences, and they worked with Hull, actually, and his family, his wife, as well, during the filming process, so I think it was really important that they were represented accurately. I think that had a large impact on the style that the filmmakers brought to it. They also developed a supporting virtual reality exhibit, and they noted in an interview with Screen Daily that the VR experience did actually have a large impact on the style they brought to the film. Obviously, the VR experience focused on Hull's sensory perception, and so they tried to recreate that in the film that would be shown alongside it, focusing on senses. Prior to working on Hull's diary, Spinney and Middleton worked on short fiction films with a similar intimate and personal style. They were called Wavelengths and Audiobook. Darrell Waldron notes that depiction perceived aesthetically can help define the artistic embellishment of the real, giving to the documentary object intrinsic aesthetic value. The combination of documentary elements, so the audio excerpts from Hull's diaries, those true stories, the cinematic interpretations, which are the visual recreations of those events, is a stylistic feature combining the film histories of the two creators, resulting in a hybrid doco short film or a drama documentary with greater essence to it because you can attach that true story title because of the real life examples, but with complete creative license over the visual representations. So the filmmakers have complete creative license. And the created depictions do embellish the real somewhat, but they also give aesthetic value to the film as a whole. So in the end, the film has a unique form. It combines the poetic documentary mode, comprehensive real-life content, and intimate, honest style of the filmmakers, of Spinney and Middleton, to create a uniquely personal, moving experience. It has a primarily expressive form, in keeping with the expressive tones of the poetic mode it aligns to. It's emotional, aesthetically beautiful, highly personal, and very much experiential, and thoroughly enjoyable.